Alright, Path of Exile 2 players, let's go ahead and check out all of the brand new items added in, specifically in like the rings, jewelry, amulet, as well as the belt slots for like the legendaries or uniques in the game. So let's go ahead and start from the top. So I guess it also counts quivers because it's like some of these like other uniques, right? Anyways, starting off, we have Asphyxious Wrath. This is an item that exists in PoE 1 as well. A lot of these, I'll be honest though, they're kind of like leveling items. I briefly looked at them. So this is just like leveling. Like some of these I might kind of skim through because we got a lot to check out, but just like some extra damage. And then enemies chilled by your hits increase the damage taken by the chill magnitude. So that's like the thing that you would be really utilizing it for. So it's whatever, I guess the amount of chill that you deal. And I think that there's something where you can chill an enemy 2 times. So that could be actually utilized for, I mean, think of it kind of like if the enemy is shocked. I'm not sure what the translation to the damage is, but like the flat damage of like 1 to 3 is pretty low, especially since a quiver can have some insane stats. We're talking like crit multi, crit damage, as well as giving you life resistances. It's a pretty big thing to give up. But I mean, for leveling, that's like whatever. Getting this like 10% attack speed, flat damage. Again, earlier on, this is probably a really good item. And then we have Black Gleam Quiver, which gives you some fire damage, some mana, increased chance to ignite. All projectiles pierce all ignited enemies, and you gain 10% of damage with extra fire. I think this one has more potential, especially if you can get more of the chill magnitude, right? Then we have Ignite Ferris, so you get some regen, some life. Life recovery regeneration is not applied. Every 4 seconds, recover 1 life for every 0.2 life recovered per second from regeneration. Okay, kind of an interesting like way that it works. So like a burst. I don't know, there could be something really interesting with this. There's always like interesting builds that people come up with, like was that like Eye of Innocence? So I don't know about this being like some crazy item. Maybe it has some potential, but like as far as like face value, most people look at this like, well, whatever. Next up, we got an amulet. We got some extra life regen per second. We get a massive amount of life, and then plus to dexterity. It says skills have +1 to limit, so if maybe like some sort of mobility skill or like any charges, and like thinking like frost bomb, like that would be kind of cool to like double spam that, right? Because it does a pretty good amount of damage. And then we have the everlasting gaze, so we get some mana regen, some mana, increased mana regen, and 30% of maximum mana is extra maximum energy shield, so that has a little bit of potential. Probably just again like a leveling item. This actually is a PoE 1 item. So Ungol's Harmony makes a return, all usually based on crit. So we have some stats, and then we have 100% critical hit chance, and then your critical hits do not deal extra damage. So when it says 100% increased critical hit chance, what this means though, just because I want this video to help out players that are coming from Diablo, it does not mean that you have 100%. What that means is it's 100% increased critical hit chance, which, as far as I'm aware of, what that means is, let's say your weapon has 5% crit, and then you take that, and then you have, well, that depending on if you can increase your base crit or not, that number would then change. But as far as it goes, it does not mean you instantly have 100% chance to crit. Unless, again, PoE 2 is a little bit different. That's what that's used for. This is still a pretty big number, though. Again, this is probably like leveling, just so you can get like on crit, if something happens, that's what you'd use it for, because your crits don't do more damage. But it's an okay item, has some potential though. Anyways, Revered Resin, Amber Amulet, so you get some life, increased life flask recovery rate, and then life flasks gain some charges per second. This could be utilized pretty decently for bosses. If you're really in like a really long fight, maybe this could be something that some people would consider, but you do lose out on your amulet slot, and it's like a level 8 item that, I mean, it does give you a decent amount of HP and some strength. I just probably don't see a lot of good players running it anyways, because most people would probably just build so much damage that they'll like get the boss down fast enough to where they don't need all those flasks. But having it recover, it could open the doors for something. Carnage, another cool PoE 1 item. So we have, it's a big downside, 20% reduced maximum life. Then we get 20 to all attributes. We have 20 to all elemental resistances. That's good. We have 100% increased amount of life leech. I don't really like that, like, reduced maximum life. If it said increase, I'd be like, oh, this is a pretty solid item. Why does it say reduced? I don't know if this is like data mined wrong. That can't be it, right? I don't know if you'd want like reduced life in a build, but PoE is a complex game. Maybe there's a reason why, but like it's usually like a pretty solid item. If that was 20% increased life, then I'd be like, okay, cool, little solid item. Anyways, we have a Surefoot Sigil. So we get some life, some dex, +1 meter to dodge roll distance. That's kind of cool. Increased evasion rating if you've dodge rolled recently. Then we have the Defiance of Destiny. So we have some increased life, some strength, increased mana regen, recover 5% of missing life before being hit by an enemy. I mean, That's pretty interesting because if it is 5% of your missing life, but I guess if you stack enough HP, maybe you could start trying to face tank everything because it's before you get hit, so then you could take the hit. Very, very interesting item. I like that idea. It is a pretty high level requirement though, 56. Next up we have the Ligurium Talisman. So you get some int, some energy shield, spirit, which is like for your mana reservation. Like, think of it kind of like that. And then we have some int, and then life regeneration is applied to energy shield instead, so you could maybe utilize it for some builds. They have Rondo of Fragility. So we have some energy shield, increased skill speed. So I believe that is skill speed like both attack and cast speed affects speed at which skills are used. So that's going to be attack speed, cast speed, warcry speed, and I'm guessing this would also probably count like totem placement for totems. So that's probably what that is. Then we have increased critical hit chance, and then we have negative 30. Wow, but there is a pretty big upside, I guess, as long as, again, that increased damage is multiplicative. If it's not, then I don't think I'd be running this. I think there's way better options, but that 30% increased skill speed may be key for certain builds, but I haven't really seen that stat in very many areas, so it's like maybe like a premium stat. Anyways, we got the Anvil. We have extra life, reduced movement speed, reduced skill speed, increased armor, increased block chance, and maximum block chance. So it's more for survivability, obviously, but I probably would say most people see that reduced and they're just like, nah. Do people want to go fast in PoE for sure? And well, this doesn't really help out with that. Next up, we have Astromentes. This is a really good item here for any attribute stackers. This is like best in slot, and I think a lot of people will maybe consider running this. The difference between PoE 1 and 2, though, the attributes do different things, so take that into consideration as well. But this is a really cool item. Glad they brought this thing back. I don't know if there was an amulet from like one of like the pinnacle bosses. Pretty good stuff. Oh, wait, let me double check on this. Here it was. The crystallized omniscience. So like any build that would utilize like basically attribute stacking. I don't know if this item exists in PoE 2, but like it's like the same concept. You start stacking a bunch of attributes. It's a cool idea. Anyways, next up we have fixation of the Yix. So it's an amulet. So it's giving us some attributes. Allies in your presence gain crit hit. We get crit chance, crit damage, attack speed, cast speed, and then 50% reduced presence area of effect. Okay, so you got to get like really, really close to them, and then you would get this bonus. And it does give you life and some attributes too. So I think this could be cool. Again, it's mainly going to be meant for some sort of minion build, but pretty cool stuff indeed. They have the Beacon of Aziz Solar Amulet, so we get some spirit, maximum mana, some extra spirit, increased light radius, critical hits, ignore enemy monster elemental resistances. Big for bosses for sure, because some of the bosses have pretty good resistances, and if you can put it at ignore or like giving them negative, it's a pretty big source of damage, so really cool stuff. And then we have the Fire Flower, which is a solar amulet. It gives us some spirit, increased rarity of items found, and then we have increased mana regen, take 100 fire damage when you ignite an enemy. And you have plus 4 level of all fire skills. That's a pretty cool thing that you can get. And if you do run a build where, like, I don't know if there's cast when damage taken, but like if you want some sort of guaranteed way to keep on activating something, maybe this could be kind of cool. And you just ignite every single time. Cool stuff. I like it. We have Eye of Chayula, so you have plus a bunch of stun threshold, which means you're probably not going to get stunned too often. Then you have all attributes, reduced maximum life, and I believe stun is based on the amount of damage that you take, based on the amount of like percent of your life. But so that's like kind of a give and take with it. But I mean, plus the massive amount of stun threshold is basically what it'd be like exciting for, unless you're trying to get like some sort of like low life HP build or something like that. Then we have the Serpent's Egg, which is a amulet. It says we get increased rarity, we get some attributes, some chaos res, increased mana regen, and gain an additional charge when you gain a charge. So if you gain like a power charge, frenzy charge, all these things that would like boost up either like your crit, your attack speed, and stuff like that. Or if you have endurance charges, which would give you extra survivability. I guess that could be okay for certain builds. And then we have the Blackheart Iron Ring, a very low level thing from PoE 1. So we get some fizz damage, some regen. Regen is pretty nice while leveling, especially in Act 1. And then you get some chaos damage, and you get to Intimidate. And Intimidate in PoE 2 is a debuff that inflicts 10% increased damage taken and 10% reduced damage dealt. Okay, so they take more damage, and then you take 10% less damage taken. I think this is fantastic. Probably one of the best like early uniques for like leveling. Then we have Dodri's Damning, which is a ring. So we get some mana, some elemental resistances, and then we gain mana per enemy killed, and it does the exact same thing as PoE 1, which is you can apply additional curse, so you can like curse them with like some sort of like vulnerability, or you can put like elemental weakness plus fire flammability or something like that is what you would do, and you get just more damage. And next up we have the Glow Swarm ring, which gives us some mana, and we get increased mana recovery rate, and then the mana flask gains some charges per second, and you can actually get a thing called Mind Over Matter, which makes it so your mana is essentially going to be kind of like your HP, and then you can get extra charges per second for it, so that could be maybe something to consider as well. And then we have a Seed of Cataclysm, which is another ring, and it gives us some mana. We get increased critical hit chance for some spells, some critical spell damage bonus, and then we get some resistance, and then 10% increase mana cost of skills. And you may want this because some skills may deal more damage based on the amount that it consumes, so it does maybe have a use. Keep in mind that's not 50% like extra bonus chance to crit. It's like whatever the base of your spell is. So if your spell has, you know, let's say 10% chance to crit, and then you get 50% bonus, there's another like 5%. It's actually pretty hard in PoE 2 to get 100% crit on it, but then yeah, like I said, it's not going to just straight up give you 50% crit. Then we have Crackle Creep, so we have some fire resistance, and then we also get increased fire damage, some regen, and then increased mana regeneration rate, and it ignites you, inflicts spread to other enemies that stay within 1.5 meters for 2 seconds, so that's probably why you run it. That's like the unique effect. Then we have another Ruby Ring, so we get some fire res, life, you get plus fire res, minus cold resistance, and then it says you take fire damage instead of physical damage from bleeding. So when you move in Path of Exile with bleeds, you can actually take a lot of damage, but if you take fire damage instead, well, you may be able to make some extra build that converts the damage you take all to fire. There's one actually on like the demon transformation where it converts a lot of the damage you take as fire, and then you just start stacking a lot of maximum fire resistance, and then, well, you have like a build that can survive a lot of stuff. Then we have the Porcelain, which is some sort of sapphire ring. So we have some cold res, some damage, some mana, some strength. Enemies chilled by your hits can be shattered as though frozen. So what's cool with that is, so you chill enemies with all the cold damage, and then they can be shattered. So frozen enemies shatter when killed, destroying their corpse. So certain enemies, as far as I'm aware of, would have an ability where like they would pop, like I don't know, there's like porcupines in PoE 1. Which that's what I believe would actually make it so like these wouldn't happen, and then as though if they were frozen, so the frozen can't move, so they can be shattered as if they were frozen. So yeah, I don't think it makes it so like you can insta them if they were frozen. I'm just trying to like see their exact wording. I'm pretty sure it just basically destroys their corpse. That's like the main reason why you'd want to run it. And then we have Dream Fragments, which is a sapphire ring, and it makes so you cannot be chilled or frozen. That's a special ability with it. The rest is that's whatever. This item is kind of nice for leveling. It almost reminds me of like Diablo 2. Was it like Ravenfrost, right? It's kind of just a nice thing to have. Although they should have deliberately copied it and gave it like dex and some like a cold damage, because the stats are just too mediocre. You'd probably want to run a charm that just gives you immunity to freeze or something else, but because you're losing on a ring slot for like some small mana regen. And yeah, I don't think it's really worth it though. Anyways, we have Whisper of the Brotherhood. So we have cold res, some skill speed, some dex, some mana regen, 100% of colds converted to lightning. So that's a really cool item. Definitely going to be something that people may want to consider if they want to run a certain build, and maybe you can do like some sort of shock with it. And then we have the Burrower. Anyways, 10. Is it 10? Is it negative? Negative to positive. Cold res, we have lightning res, increased mana regen, and lightning damage of enemies hitting you is unlucky, which means it rolls twice, which is a really good thing. But would people really want to, maybe for like a boss to equip it on, if it does do that sort of damage. Then we have Call of the Brotherhood. This is actually a pretty good item. It's basically just used for the special last line, which is 100% of lightning damage converted to cold. So it gives you some int, some extra mana regen, some increased freeze buildup. And then we have Levinstone, which is a ring, which gives us some mana, increased chance of shock, and 1 level of all lightning skills. Now, I don't know if that really makes it worth it in PoE 2, like +1 level, like, you know, a Stone of Jordan or something like that. Is this kind of similar to it? Because it does give, I know Stone of Jordan gives you like, what is it, like 1 to 12 like lightning damage, and then it, I don't think it gives you chance of shock or anything. I think it gives you some small amount of like, actually doesn't give you like percent mana. They should make Stone of Jordan, since this game is like kind of referencing Diablo 2 in a couple of different areas. Maybe that's a kind of reference. I just like when it should be level of all skill gems, but maybe there'll be an item like that. Then we have Ming's Heart. This is a cool item in PoE 1. So we have Chaos Res, we have reduced maximum life, but you gain 30 to 40% of damage as extra chaos damage, and that's a big downside though. Reduce global defenses, which is terrible, unless you really want to have it for a very crazy build. So your armor, evasion rating, and energy shield are the standard defenses. So if you were to run 2 of these, you'd have like minus 60. So that's pretty bad, but you do gain, you could almost like double your damage. You run 2 of these, you get 80% damage as extra chaos damage. Maybe if you really want to just crank up the DPS and try to one-phase bosses to farm, maybe someone out there would do it. But next up we have the original Sin. So it's 100% of elemental damage converted to chaos, and chaos resistance is 0. So 2 like stats that I think some people may consider. You can just make it so that way you just don't take as much like negative chaos res. Maybe that would be the goal of this. But then also it's mainly used for that damage conversion though, because you can start stacking that up pretty dang high. And then we have the Black Flame Amethyst. So especially because it's all of your elemental damage, because on bows you can usually get like, if you get tier 1 on all 3, I mean converting that all to chaos, because most bow players either choose like, let's say like lightning arrow, it's like ice shot or something like that. Like all of that damage usually like that you're getting for the other elements, it's small, it still helps out because you still scale Alid, but since it's converting all of it, you can get some pretty big damage. Cool item. Anyways, next up we have a Black Flame, which is a amethyst ring. So we have chaos res, mana regen, reduce ignite duration. Enemies ignited by you take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignite. And then we have an increased magnitude of ignite that we inflict, so more damage with that. And then we have Death Rush. This is a good PoE 1 item. Let's see if it's good here. So we have massive amount of accuracy, double accuracy, some evasion, leech 5% of physical attack damage as life. And then we also gain Onslaught for 4 seconds on kill. So this is actually a pretty good stat. So Onslaught gives you 20% increased skill speed and 10% increased movement speed. So that could be something to consider. I think doesn't give you like adrenaline in a PoE. I want to say in PoE 1, I think it gives you like adrenaline, which was way better. Let me double check. Okay, I had to check, and I was right. It was adrenaline on PoE 1, which it's basically like kind of the same thing. But what adrenaline does in PoE 1 is way better. So what it does is it gives you 100% increased damage, 25% increased attack, cast, and movement speed, and you get physical damage reduction, which in PoE 2, it is not nearly as good. I mean, we get skill speed, increased movement speed, but like, dude, that 100% increased damage, like, you can't just take out the stat and add the same item. I think a lot of these items in PoE 2 are kind of nerfed, to be fair. But like the thing is that like, you know, it's not the same for sure. Like I said, it's much better PoE 1. Anyways, next up we have Thieves Torment, which usually makes it so you can't, this has the same thing. You can only equip 1 ring if you run this thing. So we have a bunch of accuracy, some increased rarity. We have 15 to all res, that's kind of nice. We also gain 25 life per enemy hit and mana per hit with attacks, and we have reduced duration of curses on you. This is actually a fantastic ring, especially if you don't want to like deal with like some sort of like mana costs on some stuff, and then also you gain life per hit. So I would say this is a pretty solid item, especially for leveling. Is it going to be the best in slot for endgame? Probably not, but like it is incredibly good for leveling. I love it because it's going to keep you up for HP and mana. I mean, yeah, it's only 25, but like if you have a build that attacks quite a bit, it adds up, man, especially in the earlier stages. I think that's a cool item, but again, it's like leveling. Then we have Snake Pit. This has a lot of potential. Okay, so Snake Pit, we increase cast speed, we get spell damage, increased cast speed. If it's equipped on your left ring, projectiles from spells cannot chain. And then left ring, projectiles from spells fork. And then if it's on the right ring, projectiles from spells chain 1+ times. That's the one you want. And then if it's on the right ring, they cannot fork, and projectiles from your spells cannot pierce. 100%, this is really good for any, I want to say like Eye of Winter. This was like crazy. This one, it's so good. I don't know if we have Hydrosphere or like any other like thing that you can throw down so it has something to bounce off of, but this has potential to be one of the best in slots for some builds. Again, it's kind of dependent on what spell that you're using, but for the most part it is a massive DPS increase in terms of clear speed. But as far as bossing goes, you need another target to hit in order for it to actually work properly. We have Heartbound Loop. This actually opens up doors for a crazy build. Let's see if it does the same thing. So you have increased cast speed. You get some minions have increased life. You have life regen, increased mana regen, 300% physical damage taken on minion death, and then minions revive faster. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to like do the loop, because that's the point of it, is to like keep on looping some stuff. And you would have like all these like damage or like cast when damage taken sort of things, and you just keep on looping these. It's a really cool thing. It's a really complex build. I can talk about it for like hours. I've tried to build it, and it is not beginner friendly at all. all, but it is cool. Now, is it going to work in PoE 2? I don't know, because minions respawn after a duration, but I don't know if there's a way to kind of stop that interaction. Next up, we have Horrendous Gold Seal, so you get increased rarity, some attributes, mana, increased quantity of gold dropped by slain enemies, and it's like, whatever. I don't think people care for that. Some people like to do Magic Find builds, but for the most part, we're just trying to get through the campaign here, right? We have increased rarity, and then negative resistances. Okay, so just, again, another Magic Find. We have Ventor's Gamble, which is kind of the same thing. This is where it could be still really good. So you have increased rarity, you have some life, spirit. You can roll 40 to negative 40 of all the stats. If these roll all good, and then you get the increased rarity to be good, yeah, this could be a really, really good item. Wait, why does it? Oh, I'm pretty sure you can get increased rarity. I don't think it just rolls negative 40 to 40. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can get increased rarity. It's just the way it's worded here. So yeah, it's either you get negative 40 reduced or plus 40. A really, really godly ring if it rolls good, but good luck getting those. Anyways, we're working on the belt, and there is something really cool at the end here. So we have the Minor's Girdle. So we get some strength, some cold res, some flasks, charges gained and used. Increased flash charges used. Oh, that's kind of bad. But you get increased flash charges gained. Okay. Well, it gives you massive amount of strength. That's what people would use it for. We have a Midnight Braid. So we get some increased life recovery, mana, and then to all elements resistances, and 50% of damage taken recouped as mana. This is big. This is actually big for Mana of Matter. Mana of Matter in PoE 2, actually, holy, this is crazy. Okay. So how it works, Mind of Matter in PoE 2, it's 100% of the damage that you take is taken to your mana before your life. Now, if you stack this, all that 50% damage that you take is recouped as mana. So in theory, that's 50% DR. That is, I mean, yeah, it technically it takes like a certain duration. I get it, but this is I'm 100% running this. This is amazing. The other stats on it, like the mana's okay because it's basically like more HP. I'm 100% running this. If it's a cheap item, I'm assuming it's like level 1, like no requirements. I'm definitely going to be trying out a build with that. That's cool. I'm excited now because now I know what to look for in the future. Next up, we have Keel Haul, which gives us increased mana recovery, reduced flask recovery rate, reduced flask mana, and then life flask gains some charges per second. Okay. And then also mana flask gain a charge per second. And there's another item that gives you flash charge. So you can get like 0.5 so far per second. I'm sure maybe you can, I don't know, Pathfinder run even more. Then we get Birthright Buckle. So we get some armor, reduced flash charges used, increased flash charges gained. Life flask while used on low life, apply recovery instantly, which means that it does not take a duration, just boom. It's like, I think it's called seething for the flask. So cool stuff. Indeed, if you do need to like pop it like when you're really low, it's like, yeah, I guess you get armor. There's probably better options for a belt, to be honest. Mostly belts are used for stat sticks, as in it gives you lots of resistances in life. So we have Brid Boss. So we have increased flash charges gained. We have some mana and some lightning res, and we have some life regen. And basically, what you would use it for is cannot be shocked. And then, honestly, with this, like that special ability, I'd say skip out on it. You can run a charm that gives you something for no effectiveness of shock, or like you can't be shocked. It does take charges, but I think that's much better. So we have increased charm effect duration. We have some shield, some int. You lose 5% energy shield per second, but excess life recovery from leech is applied to energy shield. Okay, that's kind of cool. So you can have more ES as long as you're hitting stuff. Then we have Inferno class. We have massive amount of armor, some strength, some fire res, and maximum fire res. Maximum resistance is quite difficult to get, and I've seen a lot of like fire-oriented stuff in PoE as far as the uniques go. And then we have Rasai's Coil. This is an excellent item here. So we have reduced charm charges used. We have some life, increase flash life recovery rate. So how this works is, I know it's kind of weird wording, but it's you get more maximum damage, but you get less minimum. So what that means is that like your lower numbers will hit lower, but your higher numbers will hit higher. This is really good on specifically builds that already hit for really low, like specifically like Lightning Strike or any sort of damage that has a high variance. But overall, it still calculates to more DPS, especially if you're able to roll what's called like Lucky, which means it rolls 2 times and then takes the highest number. This is incredibly good for this. It's a really good item. I think people will want it for sure. There's like finally we have like a good item. This is actually, well, at some points in PoE, this is an expensive item, which we'll get into. This is probably one of the best. But we have Coward's Legacy, so we have reduced flash charges used, we have some strength, dex, increased life and mana recovery from flash. You count as low life while at 75% of maximum life or below. So low life, I believe, refers to like 30% or under in Path of Exile. So like there's like these bonuses which give you more damage and more stats, or a bonus based on that, and well, this is going to be active a little bit more frequently, so that's good. And then we're going to save the best for last. And then we have Chevron Satchel, we have the Fine Belt. So flash gain some charges per second. I wish it was 0.25, would make the math much easier, but looks like you can get like, what is that, 6.7 charges per second in terms of total, like that I've seen. So we have a reduced flash recovery rate, we have int, increased flash charges gain, and then we have life recovery from flash also applies to energy shield, so that could be kind of cool. But the last is the best, the Headhunter. Let's see if it does the same thing. So we have Stun Threshold, we have some life, strength, and dex, like some good chunks of it too. And when you kill a rare monster, you gain its modifiers for 20 seconds. So as far as it goes, like in terms of uniques, the only one that like I'm like super like hyped up about, like I understand Headhunter, like it's a really cool one, I get it, but I'm actually really excited about this one right here. Let me know, guys, if I missed out on any other cool builds that can work with, let's say Keystone passives. Oh, and I'm really interested in Snake Pit. Again, with Eye of Winter, Snake Pit, oh, dude, the clear speed is going to be very sexy, considering if you ran the chain gives you like minus 50% damage on the support gem, but if you don't lose out on that, I mean, it's got cast speed, some spell damage, and then we have we get increased cast speed 2 times on it. Oh, because it's a pearl ring. I guess that's what a pearl ring does. So we get like 25% cast speed, and then the spell damage, like, is cool, but it's basically, it just gives you chain. That's the most important thing, and like it doesn't have like really that much negatives. I mean, I understand they can't fork, it's fine. You only use it for the chain, so that's gonna be cool. But then some items like the original, no, not original sin, where was that, like the Death Rush, I was kind of disappointed that like they nerfed it, but at the end of the day, there are some cool stuff, so I'm excited to see what people come up with. But like I said, if there's any cool ideas, let me know down below in the comment section below. But that's all of the unique rings, amulets, and the belts, and well, I'm glad they added Headhunter. Maybe we'll get Mage Blood in the future, but take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, and I'm gonna be covering all of the armors and stuff. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.